What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. Every year, as May 9th approaches towards us, Russia launches itself into the familiar frenzy of Victory Day preparation and celebration. And so this is where drama begins. And by the way, guys, traditionally I will be doing the Victory Day parade live stream already this Friday, so please subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss it. This is some kind of our small tradition that we do on this channel, where you guys will be able to directly talk to me and even ask questions, and obviously watch the parade at the same time along the way. So yeah, please subscribe, and we will do this live stream on early morning Friday. So yeah, back to fails of the Russian propaganda that inevitably comes on and around May 9th. First, you might remember that upside down flag fiasco. And I mean, the Russian flag is pretty simple, just three colors, white, blue, red. It is also one of the most widely recognized flags in the world, so when Russians themselves don't know how it looks like or in which order the colors are, that is kind of concerning, to say the least. Or another time the SS troopers got cast as heroic Red Army liberators. Those fails were obviously cringe-worthy, sure, but they were mere footnotes in a much larger script of propaganda misfires. This year, though, the performance has hit a grotesque new low. Festive billboards appeared across the ruins of Bakhmut, a city once alive with 70,000 souls and now reduced to flattened foundations and empty streets. Imagine walking through shattered buildings, the wind kicking up dust in places of memories, while optimistic banners shout "С Днем Победы!", which is in English Happy Victory Day. Well, and they shout like literally at nobody in particular. It is a carnival in the graveyard, a feast in the time of plague, and scenic demonstration of symbolism and sorrow during the times of despair. How did we even get here in the first place? How a day meant to honor sacrifice became a cruel joke on the very people who suffered the most. And that's exactly what we will try to unpack in today's video, as we dive deep into the anatomy of this poster fiasco, the history of Russia's symbolic stumbles, and the uglier truth about how the state's obsession with empty imagery starves real lives of complete meaning. Let's begin with the classics. Poster fiascos in Russia are not new. They're practically a tradition at this point. In the early 2010s, you had local officials hoisting the Russian flag upside down, turning a symbol of victory into one of mockery. Then there was the billboard featuring SS troops, featuring them as the Red Army heroes of the past, saying that current generations should always look up to them and consider them as the role models of patriotic behavior. You would think somebody would notice that, but no, it was rolled out on the highway for everyone to see. Each misprint and misplacement sparked viral laughter, but also very uneasy questions. If they cannot even get the basic history right, what else are they messing up? Fast forward to late April of this year, just a week ago or so, when festive posters begin filling up and empty abandoned streets of Bakhmut, the epicenter of some of the fiercest urban warfare of this war. The Howitzer Artillery Division, with a nudge from the Volgograd governor, decided that Bakhmut's decimated streets needed bright reminders of the Victory Day spirit. The order probably went something like: put cheerful banners here, film a quick propaganda segment, and voila, you're done, good job. Soldiers also declared on camera: we are getting ready for the big celebration, victory is near. And meanwhile, the ground beneath them was nothing but the cratered husks of buildings, streets where children once played, and now they're simply lined up with rubble, nothing else. Bright reds and golds slapped into shattered bricks served not as beacons of hope, but as glaring reminders of complete absence. And who were even these banners for? There are no practically civilians left, and those who are still there hate the Russian liberators with everything they got left. Could it be that all this clownship was solely for the purpose of recording these videos and then passing them along to the Russian propagandists, ordering them then to upload these videos to their Telegram channels and other social media platforms? Well, it surely looks like it. But why Bakhmut? Why decorate what is effectively a war grave? Perhaps the regime thought that slapping propaganda onto destruction would rewrite reality itself, like to create a photo op that says all is well here, comrade. But in reality it is a fool's errand. A poster cannot rebuild homes, comfort widows, or restore the laughter of children. Yet the authorities persist in believing that if you cover enough road with logos and slogans, people will start seeing roses instead of wreckage. Well, that's the cruel brilliance of the great poster phenomena. It convinces the powerful that the march of symbols is more important than the march of reconstruction. And speaking about the reconstruction, was this liberation of Bakhmut for nothing? Has not Putin said that every single liberated Ukrainian city will be immediately restored? Exactly what he did in Mariupol when the cameras were rolling, because as soon as cameras turned off, everyone forgot about the city completely, and the reconstruction either slowed down significantly or stopped entirely. And not a single newsworthy event ever even escaped Mariupol since then and entered the Russian propaganda media space. Surprise, surprise, looks like Putin never cared about restoring Ukraine in the first place. It was all about the symbolism and propaganda. And let's talk right now about it, a little bit more details right now about the symbolism and why it is so important for the regime of Putin. Symbols have power when they serve life, not devour it. But in Putin's Russia, the symbolic has eaten the material whole. Consider, for example, the St. George ribbon, Georg's Kolenchik in Russian. In 2005, a handful of RIA Novosti journalists gave away simple black and orange ribbons as a modest homage to wartime valor. It cost them literally a bottle of vodka and a bag of sunflower chips. Fast forward 2 decades, and that ribbon is now a state-sanctioned badge of honor and patriotism. Disrespect 1 inch of that fabric and you risk criminal charges. And I'm not even kidding. People in Russia did go to jail for tearing it, burning it, or even just throwing it in the ground or in the trash can. Want to swap it out for a blue and yellow bow in solidarity with Ukraine? Good luck with that. You will get immediately branded a traitor, and this is the least that you can expect to happen. The ribbon's original purpose to quietly remember sacrifice has evaporated into oblivion. Ask, for example, any regular Russian, what does this ribbon even stand for? And 99% of them will reply, I know, something related to Second World War. Not sure exactly what, but it is something like this. And yet, here they are wearing it with such a pride and dedication, like it is something like a US Purple Heart Award. And then there is the immortal regimen. It began as almost an individual initiative. Families walked the streets carrying photos of their grandfathers who fought in the Second World War. It was touching, communal at first, a genuine celebration of memory, but over time, the state took over it. The event ballooned into mandatory spectacle. Now you've got school children in stiff uniforms marching through empty halls, walls plastered with faces of veterans who never asked to be props in a living shrine. Even Putin himself participated in this march at least once. In Bakhmut then, among toppled walls and ghost town streets, someone also erected this immortal regiment board. But whose grandparents are we even honoring? There are no families left to carry those portraits. It is a haunting visual. Rows of black and white photos staring blankly at the shell of settlement that once used to be a living city. It is not an act of remembrance, it is an indictment of remembrance turned immoral. And what happens when a symbol designed to unite becomes an instrument of division? You don't just discourage free thinking, you punish it. You don't honor ancestors, you exploit them. And eventually, you lose the ability to even imagine a world beyond the next slogan. Because when the state owns the symbol starts owning your soul. At this point, we are entering cult-like territory, and after the next chapter, you will see exactly why. Some of you might remember the 2017 song Uncle Vlad, We Have You Back. That was United Russia representative Anna Kuvechko's brainchild, performed by Volgograd cadets of Mamayev Hill. 10-year-olds in too big uniforms sang about fighting the US hegemony, holding the portraits of great-grandfather they never met in their lives. Russia 24, one of the biggest state channels, aired it in prime time. It was grotesque then, but by today's standards it is almost sacrilegious. Now those same kids are forced to scream about the need to eradicate liberal fascism, globalist Satanists, and their sacred goal to crush the devilish influence of the West. They don't think about peace or remembrance. They chant war cries. What kind of childhood is that? Shouldn't 10-year-olds be dreaming of ice cream trucks and, video games, not rehearsing battle anthems? And why do the grown-ups think that this is acceptable? Would Anna Kvichka sign her own children up for the frontline tour? I highly doubt it. She will just tuck them into bed, hush their nightmares, and whisper lullabies like any normal parent would do. In fact, what's even more horrifying to realize is that some potentially of these 10-year-olds back from 2017 video might now have actually joined the military, went to Ukraine, and even already died there. So here we are, watching kids paraded as living billboards for patriotism of hatred. The cult of cultism has spiraled so far off control that any dissent becomes heresy. You cannot debate the anthem, you cannot question the slogan, and you sure as hell cannot remove that ribbon on your chest and just throw it in the drawer. In this fever dream, patriotism is not love of country, it is enforced hatred towards anything non-Russian. And when a state demands blind loyalty from its youngest citizens, it is not building patriotism, it is breeding pawns and martyrs. Symbols are not just photos and flags, they are the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. But when the story becomes a tool for conquest, you end up with carnage, both material and immaterial. Picture Bakhmut once again. Collapsed apartment blocks, schools destroyed wide open, hospitals nothing but shattered beams. Then you see a billboard towering over it and proclaiming, "Victory is near." The ground beneath that billboard is not victory, it is grace. Real people died so that someone 2,000 miles away could film a staged ribbon-tying ceremony and pretend everything is going according to the plan, all is well. Legally, you now must revere these symbols as sacred war emblems, at least in Russia. Dare to call it twisted and, well, you're a traitor. Thomas More once famously said that sheep eat up men. Here it is the posters that consume the people. 70,000 Bakhmutians erased so that the state TV can cut to a shot of shiny posters fluttering in the breeze. Who is even supposed to admire that? The survivors, if any, left? They'd rather see a roof over their heads than another banner. The liberation of Bakhmut was for nothing, except to serve its propagandistic purpose and boost the ratings of Vladimir Slaveyov talk show. There was no sense in Bakhmut battle, neither in 2022, not in 2023, not in 2024. Well, and it still does not make much sense in May 2025. It does not make sense to us, regular observers, but how much sense it makes to those people who used to live there. Public holidays only work if they reflect something real. Fireworks mean nothing over abandoned homes. Concerts for empty seats are a symphony of absence. You cannot redeem death with decoration. You cannot heal trauma with theater. Yet, in Putin's mind, every banner, every anthem, every ribbon is held up as proof of national strength. When symbols become shields behind which you hide your failures, the very notion of victory mutates into a cynic joke. Well, there you have it, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Also, don't forget about our Friday livestream. If you wish to support my work, there are links down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe in